Good morning and welcome to the October 6th, 2022 Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting. If any member of the audience wishes to speak to an item on the agenda today, there are speaker request forms to the left of the dais. Please fill out the request with the agenda number of the item you wish to speak to and hand it to the secretary. At this time, we would also like to ask that if any member of the audience has a cell phone or other electronic device, that you either turn it off or turn the ringer to silent. If you need to take a call, please step out to the hallway so the meeting is not disrupted. The public hearing on item number 1, the approval of the July 7th, 2022 Zoning Board of Adjustment minutes is hereby opened. All right, Karen made the motion to approve the minutes, and Eric Heikus seconded that motion. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2.
This item is a variance request to reduce the side yard setback to 10 feet in lieu of 35 feet, and to admit the paving requirement for the one parking stall required for the property located east of Hidden Timber Road and Horse Creek Road. The lot is owned by the HOA and Zone Mobile Home Residential District. Future land use is low density neighborhood. The property is located east of Sheridan Lake Road, which is classified as a principal arterial street on the city's major street plan. The applicant is proposing to develop a 320 square foot neighborhood building. It'll be located in the southeast portion of the property. It'll be accessed by an existing driveway that is primarily gravel. The first 65 feet of the driveway is hard surfaced. This is a zoomed in site plan that just shows that 10-foot setback and more clearly, and shows that adjacent parking stall, gravel parking stall. This is the front elevation. This building will be 1 story or 9.8 feet in mean height. This is looking south into the property. And this is the southeast portion of the property where the existing development is and where the proposed building will go. This is looking east along Hidden Timber Road and looking south along Horse Creek Road. So staff is recommending that this item be approved, considering this is a unique circumstance for this type of development, and that the purpose and intent of the regulations are maintained through this request. And with that, I'll stand by for any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions for staff on this item?
Mr. Chair, if I might.
Vicki?
Thank you. So one of the unique situations here, and I don't know that any of you were seated on the Planning Commission when we had this discussion several years ago, because this is zoned mobile home residential, there's a provision within the ordinance that they get a storage lot. You don't see that in other residential districts. But think about it. When you live in a mobile home subdivision, you have limited storage inside your residential structure, and the lots usually don't support RV parking or other equipment that the association may need to maintain common areas. And so I was not around when this ordinance was written, but they were thinking ahead. And this lot has been in existence for years. What they're doing is staying in line with the existing development that's there. There is a significant distance from the proposed structure and any development or structural development along that common lot line. We saw this as an adjustment that could be made. It did not appear to be injurious to the neighborhood, and it is very unique because this is a use that isn't allowed in other residential districts.
Thanks, Vicki. Eric Heikus?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for answering the question I think most of us had. So this is a parcel that's owned by the HOA, and it's used for common storage, sort of like common space for the entire area. Okay. The one question I have then is resident vehicle storage areas, that's not the item under our concern at this point. It's really the addition of the garage. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, those recreational vehicle storage, the resident vehicle storage is a legal non-conforming use, but it's really not a part of this application.
So it would be nice to see some buffering of that from adjacent roadways and residential lots, but since that's not what we're previewing today, then I think my comments are done. Thank you.
Other questions or comments from the commission on this? Haven?
I guess my question is, there's appears to be a residence, or it's hard to tell, I guess, from the photo, just to the east of this projected spot is, there's a strange configured lot in a driveway just on the east side of this lot. Is that is there a residence there? And I guess apparently there's been no comment by that resident as to this application.
Yeah, there's a single-family home right to the east, but yeah, there hasn't been any comments from the neighbors that have came in.
Tanner, can you just kind of use the marker to show where the structure's going to go?
Oh yeah, sure. So that's where the proposed structure would be, approximately.
Right, so it's adjacent to that lot behind it. That was my question. On the right of that, is there a residence there? And presumably there's been no comment by that resident?
Directly to the right of that, there would be a home there, but it's set back over here. I mean, this is their detached garage, and there hasn't been any comment from that resident. No.
Mr. Chair,
Vicki?
just as a reminder, this is owned by the Homeowners Association, and so all the residents have the opportunity to benefit from this. We did not receive any negative comments, nor did we expect any.
Yeah, maybe if I could just follow up on Haven's line, I'm assuming that adjacent residence is part of the homeowners association. Okay. Other comments from the commission? Mike?
A motion to approve. Based on granting this variance is in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the title and will not be injurious to the neighborhood, detrimental to the public welfare, or in conflict with the city's comprehensive plan. And I'll second that.
Okay. Mike Gallagher made the motion as he stated. I won't try to repeat it because I thought he did a nice job.
Read it.
And Vince seconded that motion. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. That's our last item on zoning board of adjustment. I'd look for a motion to adjourn. Okay, Vince made the motion and Brooke seconded that motion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. We will now commence the Rapid City Planning Commission meeting for October 6, 2022. Again, if any member of the audience wishes to speak to an item on the agenda, please fill out a speaker request form and hand it to the staff on the left wall. And if anybody still hasn't turned off their cell phone, please turn it off or turn the ringer to silent. Items 1 and 2 have been placed on the consent calendar today and may be approved as a group. Action will be taken on all consent items in accordance with staff's recommendation by a single vote. Any item may be removed from the consent calendar by any planning commissioner, staff member, or audience member for separate consideration at this time. Findings of this planning commission are recommendations to the city council. The city council will make the final decision with the exception of the following item. Item 2, 22 PD 021. The Rapid City Planning Commission's action on this item is final unless any party appeals that decision to the Rapid City Council. All appeals must be submitted in writing to the Department of Community Development by close of business on the 7th full calendar day following action by the Planning Commission. Would staff like to remove one or two?
No, thank you.
Any items that any planning commissioner would
Chairman.
like removed?
Can we correct that to UR?
On
21.
item 2? Okay. Item 2 is not 22 PD 021, it's 22 UR 021. And that item is final unless any party appeals that item to the council, as stated. All right, would any planning commissioner like to remove one or two? And would any audience member like to remove one or two for separate consideration? The chair would then entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar items 1 and 2 in accordance with staff's recommendations. All right, Mike Gallagher made the motion to approve, and Vince seconded that motion. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item number 3 is a major amendment to a plan development to allow on-sale liquor in conjunction with a restaurant located along Fifth Street. The applicants failed to pick up the letters and/or post the sign, and so this item must be continued to the October 27th Planning Commission meeting.
Karen made the motion to continue item number 3 to October 27th, and Vince seconded that motion. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Item 4.
Mr. Chair, this brings us to election of officers. Currently, obviously, Eric Braun is the chair. Rachel Caesar was the vice chair. When she stepped down, knowing that elections were so soon, the decision was not to fill it on an interim time. And then Karen Bullman is the secretary and stands in if the chair and vice chair aren't able to chair the meeting. There are no secretarial duties associated with the secretarial position per se. So typically what we would do is start taking nominations for the chair's position first, and then we'll work our way to the secretarial position.
Vince.
I nominate Eric Braun for chairman.
All right. Vince nominated myself, and Aaron seconded that motion. Any other nominations? All those in favor of Vince's motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'll abstain.
Yay.
All right, vice chair. Mike Gallagher nominated Vince Vidal, and Brooke seconded that motion. Any other nominations? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Secretary. Well,
I'll nominate Karen.
I second that motion. Any other nominations? All those in favor of Karen for secretary, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, there you go.
It is important that you do place members that have the ability to regularly and consistently attend, and so I think you've done an excellent job. The other item that I have on the agenda is that we did a doodle poll to see when most of you could attend a Planning 101 training session, and the winning date is November 4th at lunchtime. That'll be 12 o'clock in this room. It'll be very informal. We'll set up a block of tables so that we're all facing each other. We're hopeful that we will have the 2 new city council members join us as well. There will be lunch made available, and all of the planners will be participating in that presentation. It's an opportunity to ask questions that you maybe don't want to ask in a recorded meeting. It will help you understand a little bit more about the intent of a zoning regulation document and some of the limitations and authority that's given to government when we're bringing forward these items for your review and approval. It should be good. In the past, we've followed that up with a plating 101, but for the most part, that gets pretty intense, and most people can't give us 2 hours of their busy time. So if in the future we feel that that would be helpful, we can do that at a later date, but zoning is the primary issue that we need to ensure everyone's in line with the authority that we're given when making our decisions.
All right. Yeah, I've done this for a while, and every time I go to one of these sessions, I manage to learn something, and that sometimes shows my ignorance, but I just think I encourage everyone to go for it. Eric Hikus?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Point of clarification, that invite went to City Council, other members of the,
It went to all of Planning Commission
okay,
and the 2 new City Council members.
2 new City Council. Thank you.
Haven?
Since we have a little time here, I was interested in the item number 2 on Springbrook Acres. It was an application for a major amendment to the conditional use permit. Can you explain why that was required in this case?
So the use itself does trigger a conditional use to put this accessory storage within a residential district. And so this is an expansion of that when, in order to build that building, it triggered the amendment to the existing conditional use permit. In other words, the use was allowed. But because our ordinance is written where whenever you do an expansion within a conditional use permit and it's more than 20% of what's currently there, then it requires a major amendment. If it was less than 20%, we could have done it administratively as a minimal amendment. And we put it on consent knowing that the use itself wasn't the issue, it was the location and design.
So this was triggered then, the application was to increase their storage by more than 20%.
Correct. Structural storage. Very good.
Makes sense?
Things we'll review at Planning 101.
All right, any other items for, oh, Brooke?
I just have a question for staff too. So one of the things, and this is a very ignorant question, so I'm curious in a situation like that, how many dwellings can they add? I mean, I'm assuming it would just keep coming, but as I look at that piece of property, could they put up 12 garages eventually if they wanted to?
So the limitations on that would be you cannot exceed 30% coverage of any property. Obviously, that's a large lot. They have substantial acreage there, so that we could see additional structural development. But within every zoning district, there is a maximum percentage of that lot that can have impervious coverage. And this all goes to the city's drainage plan. When we're looking ahead and we're establishing regional drainage, Todd and his team need to know if we're looking at annexing a property in, identifying that it's going to be low-density residential, we have to start figuring out how we're going to capture that drainage. And they do that off of that formula. And in this case, it cannot exceed 30% lot coverage for structural development. In commercial, it's 75%. In industrial, it's 70%, but in that district, pavement gets counted. No other district does pavement get counted. So it's kind of a formula that seems to be working and all kind of plays together with how do we accommodate infrastructure with zoning regulations.
Thank you.
All right, other items to discuss? Motion to adjourn. Mike Gallagher made the motion to adjourn, and Vince seconded that motion. All those in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye.